We're back with another look at the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Earlier this week, we took a look at the 10 best matchups in that round that the NFL has had on offer. To paraphrase Isaac Newton, every best of list has an equal and opposite worst of list to go with it. Today, we will be counting down the 10 worst divisional round matchups in NFL history. How do we make such determinations? By using C-Score, this channel's metric for determining the quality of every NFL team during the Super Bowl era. For a deeper explanation of how C-Score works, be sure to check out the description of this video. We don't want to overcomplicate things here. All we're doing is taking the C-scores of the individual teams within a matchup and adding them up. For a worst of list, the lower that total, the higher that matchup will rank. No matchup from 2024 will be making this list, with only the Chiefs and Texans even threatening, but even then, not so much. All that out of the way, I want to thank you for joining us today, and away we go. We're going to start things off at number 10 from the season where the NFL expanded to 4 divisions each. That would be 2002. We head to the AFC for this matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Titans were an 11-5 team, champions of the new AFC South, earning the number 2 seed. The Steelers were the 3 seed as champions of the new AFC North at a 10-5-1 record. The Titans' C-score is around 5.5. The Steelers barely clear 7. The total for this matchup is 12.726. These two teams weren't as good as their seeds would indicate, but this game turned into a thriller that had to go to overtime, where the Titans won 34-31. However, in the following week, they got pasted pretty good in the AFC title game by the Raiders. Staying with the AFC, but going back a few years, is our number 9 entry. This is from 1986. The matchup is between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. The Browns won the AFC Central at 12-4 and earned the conference's number 1 seed. The Jets were the 4th seed, finishing 2nd in the AFC East at 10-6, despite being outscored on the season by 22 points. That reflects in their C-score, which comes in at around half a point. Lining that up against the Browns at around 10.5 gives us a total of 11.205. Yet, for the second straight game, we got an overtime thriller. In fact, this one went to double overtime. The Jets put up a fight, but the Browns wind up winning 23-20. The following week's AFC Championship game also went to overtime and was also decided by a score of 23-20. This time, though, the Browns took the loss against Denver. To find our number 8 entry, we head to the 1978 season. This is from the NFC, and the matchup is between the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. LA was powerful this season, going 12-4, winning the West and grabbing the conference's number 1 seed. The Vikings won the NFC Central, were given the 3rd seed with their lowly record of 8-7-1. That put the Vikings into negative territory in C-score, while the Rams held on to a 10.45. That gives this matchup a total score of 9.691. We had very close games in our first 2 entries, not so much in this one. The Rams wind up clobbering the Vikings 34-10 before getting clobbered themselves the following week against Dallas 28-0. We're going to be seeing one of the teams we saw in our prior entry here at number 7. We move on to the 1985 NFC. This will be the Los Angeles Rams and the Dallas Cowboys. The Rams won the West at 11-5, getting the conference's 2nd seed. The Cowboys won the East at 10-6, getting the conference's 3rd seed. Neither of these teams played much of a schedule, and their combined point differential combined is 87 points. That lowers their C-scores here. The Cowboys are at 1.5, the Rams barely clearing 7.5. Their total is 9.223. The winner of this game was going to feel good for about a minute or two until they realized that they were heading to Chicago to play the 1985 Bears. It was the Rams who got the win, though. They pitched the shutout at 20-0 before turning around and getting shut out themselves against the Bears by a score of 24-0. We're going to remain firmly in the NFC for our number 6 entry. We're moving up in time though to the 2000 season. This matchup is between the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints. The Vikings were winners of the NFC Central, going 11-5 and earning the conference's 2nd seed. The Saints were champions of the West at 10-6, earning the 3 seed, but had to play in the wildcard round, where they won their first ever playoff game in franchise history. At 10-6 with a plus 49 point differential, their C-score was just around 3.4. The Vikings were a little closer to 6, giving us a grand total of 9.082. The Vikings were not as good as their 11-5 record would indicate, but they benefited from the week off and were able to handle the Saints 34-16. However, what we're getting here in the NFC title game is our 3rd consecutive shutout loss, as they went to New Jersey to face the Giants, only to lose 41-0. We now enter the top half of the countdown, and we're traveling back to the 1979 NFC season. This is the matchup between the Los Angeles Rams and the Dallas Cowboys. The Rams, powerful throughout the 70s, weren't as strong this season, but they still won the West with a 9-7 record, earning the number 3 seed. The Cowboys were the number 1 seed at 11-5, having won the East, but their C-score does not really reflect that, with a total of just over 9. The Rams were in the negative, giving us a total here of 8.377. Yet the Rams showed their mettle by going into Dallas and slipping by with a score of 21-19. They then pitched their own NFC title game shutout with a 9-0 victory over the Buccaneers, making it to Super Bowl 14, but losing to the Steelers. Not only are we going to stay in the NFC for our number 4 entry, we're going to stay in the same season of 1979, with the conference's other matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bucs make their first ever playoff appearance as NFC Central champions, going 10-6 and getting the number 2 seed. The Eagles tied with the Cowboys atop the NFC East at 11-5, but lost out on the tiebreaker and had to take the 4th seed. The Eagles are carrying their weight here with a 7.9 C-score, but the Buccaneers are right there, just missing a -4. The total for this matchup is 3.938. Despite objectively being the worst team, the Buccaneers were able to ride their home field advantage to their first ever playoff game victory by a score of 24-17. But as covered earlier, they took yet another shutout in the NFC Championship game. At long last, we revisit the AFC. In fact, this is the first ever season for the AFC in 1970. This matchup is between the Oakland Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. This was during the time where there was no playoff seeding. The Raiders won the West with their odd 8-4-2 record, this during an era where the NFL had no overtime during the regular season. The Raiders' C-score just cleared 3 points. The Dolphins couldn't quite get to 1, giving us a total of 3.933. Given the Raiders' recent history, this was a more competitive game than many would have guessed. However, Oakland did take out the Dolphins 21-14. In the AFC Championship game, though, they couldn't get past the old NFL Baltimore Colts, losing 27-17. The same team that finished second in our worst wildcard round matchups is finishing second in our divisional round matchups as well, as they are powerful enough to bring just about anybody down. This is the 2010 NFC. We're talking about the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears. The Seahawks famously finished 7-9 with a -97 point differential, yet won the NFC West and got the number 4 seed. They won in the wildcard round to match up here with the Chicago Bears, 11-5, the number 2 seed as champions of the NFC North. The Seahawks C-score, of course, is dreadful at -21. The Bears, despite being here in the number 2 matchup, are the highest rated team in C-score of any team we'll see in this list at just over 11 points. However, the distortion that is the Seahawks brings this total down into the negatives at -9.978. The Seahawks' miracle run ended right here as the Bears won this game by a score of 35-24. They got to host the NFC title game the following week, where they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers. And now we arrive at the number 1 spot, and just like at number 2, we have the same team that finished number 1 in the wildcard round games. This is the NFC from 2004. The matchup here is between the Los Angeles Rams and the Atlanta Falcons. The Rams were second in the NFC West at 8-8, but in a terrible 2004 season for the NFC, that was not only good enough to get them a wildcard spot, but the top wildcard spot with the number 5 seed. The Falcons won the NFC South at 11-5, despite playing a bottom 5 schedule that they only outscored by 3 points. This still earned them the number 2 seed. This is the one and only matchup in NFL Divisional Round history where both teams are in the negatives in C-score. The Rams, of course, are much lower, giving us a grand total of negative 14.069. We can't pretend that Atlanta was a particularly good team in 2004, but they sure were good enough to smash the Rams 47-17. But they couldn't get past the NFC's one good team this season, the Eagles, in the NFC title game. Looking at the top 10 as a whole, we can see a certain pattern developing. The best of lists have had less space from top to bottom than the worst ofs. The gap from top to bottom here is more than 25 points. That said though, the difference in C-score between our number 3 and number 4 entries is just 0.005 points. Nearly half of the NFL's 32 teams had an entry with 15 in total. Only 3 made multiple appearances. The Vikings and the Cowboys each appear twice, with both of Dallas's games coming against the Rams. For their part, the Rams, who tied for the most appearances on the best of lists, lead the way here with 4 different listings. However, one of those teams were the only road team to win their game, that being the 1979 team. The AFC took the first 2 spots before the NFC began to dominate by taking 7 of the top 8. That same 79 Rams team was also the only one to win again the following week to qualify for the Super Bowl, but none of these teams were able to actually win it. How could they when most of them were too darn busy getting shut out in the conference championship games? Thank you so very much for making it to this point in the video. YouTube loves it when you like and share it, and so do I. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to ding that bell to receive notifications about all future videos from the channel. Let me know what you think about all of this. 2004 and 2010 were tailor-made for a list like this, so it's no surprise to see them at the top. Was there anything else that was a surprise? Did we have a matchup in here you don't think belonged? Or maybe we left out a matchup you think did belong? Sound off on this or anything else you may have on your mind right down there in the comments section below. You are an awesome audience and I am so lucky to have had you here today. Thank you very much, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.